All right, welcome back. Real Fans Podcast, episode 36. It's been a while. I know I missed a few episodes, gentlemen. What's good? Happy
Jojo's been gone
holidays.
for like a month. It's been gone for
Welcome
like
back.
a month.
We out here. We're getting a few more followers out here on our Instagram, Real Fans Podcast. 158 followers. You know, not too much, not too little as well. You know, we're trending upwards. Let's
We're
get
growing.
it. What up,
growing.
Gabe? What up?
What's up,
What's good, Julian?
fellas?
It's been a what?
Got a lot of sports to talk about.
He's
I
like,
know,
it's been a. I feel like every time we see Gabe, he has like a different
I
background.
was gonna wait a minute.
All right, let's get right into this. First thing is apparently recently there's been an MLB lockout. I am actually first time me hearing this. So, Jojo, why are they doing a lockout? Why are they not showing up to work?
Well, all right. Well, essentially, contracts end between players, in the league, and essentially the lockout is to negotiate MLB contracts, economics and finances, anything with money, assets like that. Last lockout we had actually 94-95 season, and yeah, man, it's to negotiate finances. There's a couple of things you need to go over every few years, and there's some issues that players bring about to the league as well to try to get it fixed. Well, let's start with some of the pros. Well, some of the pros is the league and owners, they absolutely do not want to push against a salary cap, which is great for baseball, right? That's what sets us apart from other leagues. There's no salary cap, so these guys, there's money available. They get paid what they need to get paid.
Is it great? Is it great? It's great for you because you're a Yankee fan.
Hey, listen, the Rangers, I don't know if you saw, Gabe, how much money they put towards their middle infield. Two players, almost $500 million.
Yeah.
For two players.
It was a big signing. Yeah.
Two max contracts, which is crazy. So, hey, it could work for lower tier teams as well, man. Not just the Bankies. The Yankees. We out here. New York Bankies. But a few issues that players are gonna bring up during this lockout is that players want to get paid more younger. A lot of their big contracts come when they're turning 30. So after the first 6 years of playing, which kind of for majority of players is when they're turning 30 or around that time, and it's an issue because then they're kind of like, not all players, but leaving their prime, for example, like they want to get paid more younger, which I kind of understand both sides, right? You still got to prove yourself within those first few years to be able to get paid. But then again, other teams might not see you as a valuable asset because of your age, which we all know in baseball, you can play till you're like 40 efficiently. I mean, that's just one of those sports where you can play for 20 years and be okay. But still, like, I get the argument there. Also, secondary and third tier players in their positions, they want to get paid more as well, right? These, first tier players, star players, they're getting bulk of the money. These 10-year, $300 million, $200 million contracts, and these other players don't have money going towards them. Which
is this something going on with like that with the MLBPA and like they're like trying to get a deal settled or something with the MLB?
Yeah, because every year, they have the contracts last for a certain amount of time.
Because what is that called? That every league does it with their PA every few years. I can't think of the deal. Some sort of I don't know. I bet you guys might know.
Well, I don't know what word you're looking for.
The bargaining
agreement. Yeah, bargaining agreement.
Yeah.
That's what it's called. I think every 4 years, the PA for every league they agree with like whatever. Yeah. And I think that has to do with salaries and stuff like that a lot of times.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's a big issue. Secondary, third tier players, they're not getting.
Will it last? Will they actually hold out? Do you think they'll actually hold out?
Well, we still got a few months for the season, so I feel like this is a good time for it to happen now, right? Not right before spring training. It can definitely last for God knows how long, right? And that's the worst case result, right? You don't want it to affect the seasons. I don't think we're going to lose any of the 162 games because at the time they're doing it now, if they could come to any sort of agreement. I don't feel like there was any real tension these last few years between both parties, between the players and the league owners, I feel like they'll find a deal. I don't think it's going to be like the NBA lockout right in the middle of the season. Everyone's missing games, things like that.
I think the
There's still
NHL
plenty
lockout
of
was the
time.
same way too. I think didn't the NHL lockout a few years ago lose a few games because of it?
Yeah, I believe so. And right now with the lockout, for people that don't know, rules associated with it, teams can't contact any players right now. You can't visit, players can't visit facilities. Like everything's just completely divided right now. I mean, obviously it's the off season regardless, but contact between player and teams can't go on during this lockout. So again, it could be a weird couple of months if it lasts long, depending. Everyone's in a different situation. People fighting for contracts. You can't sign any free agents right now during this lockout. So that's how players and teams are affected by this lockout currently.
Because when does free agency start? When is
it's already started. Teams are signing players. Mets, I believe, got Max Scherzer, if I'm correct. It was Scherzer, yeah. All-star pitcher.
your favorite team?
The Rangers again just spent like almost $500 million on two players, the middle infield there. So, hey man, they probably knew this was gonna happen, so they went ahead and signed who they needed to sign, so they didn't have to wait.
Well, that's what I was gonna mention. That there was a lot of signings going on because everybody knew that this was going down. I think it was like for a year or two. I've heard like rumblings of like there's going to be a lockout. So you see a lot of teams locking up their players because you don't want a free agent out there floating around while they're still negotiating, and then you say, let's say they increase the cap space or no cap space or whatever. You got name a player, Altuve or somebody that's not signed. So you saw a lot of people signing before this date was coming. So I think what Jojo mentioned, I don't see a lot of tension, especially with players signing so many big deals before the deadline. I think it's going to get done. I don't think as of right now anything's going to get done because last I heard they met in New York, their headquarters in New York, and the meeting was like 7 minutes. Like they just they went in there 7 minutes to a hotel, they clapped their hands, and then they left, and nobody was like, "Yo, what's going on?" And obviously a deal didn't get done. So right now it seems a little hot for negotiating, but I think it's going to get done. But we might lose a game or two. I don't know how long it's going to last. I'm not really an expert in negotiations, but I think the ML will be back for next year. There's just too many young players, too many big signings that they're not going to skip a year.
Gabe, so what you're telling me is you don't know what you're talking about because you're not an expert.
They're not gonna leave money on the table. Listen, nobody wants to watch. Nobody wants to watch Rob Manfred sit around in his office. People want to watch. It's one of the strongest unions of all the leagues is the baseball league. Is the baseball
for sure.
MLPA. So I think they'll get it. They'll get it done. And we got plenty of time. Like you said, the season's not started yet. They'll negotiate some shit.
They'll figure something out. I was going to say too, I think another reason why I think MLB wants to get something figured out because, I mean, maybe, I don't know, but maybe they're still feeling the effects from the 2020 year, missing like almost the entirety of the season. And maybe you don't want to go back and miss a few more games on top of that. Like, I don't think you want to go through another situation where you're missing games, especially how things were the past couple of years. I think
this was maybe that'll be part of the negotiations. They're trying to, change the percentage as far as like their TV contracts when they sell advertisements. The owners get whatever 52%, and the players get whatever 40, whatever.
Because we all know that's where the money is in MLB. Everybody knows the money's in any sport, but especially MLB. It's the TV deals. Like those are huge. How much money they make.
So and the owners are not going to want to miss out on those types of contracts. You know what I mean? Like especially with these, we have stadium deals that are like for 50 years or whatever. You got signing these guys. Some years, guys are getting like 8-10 years or whatever. Like they're gonna miss out on all that money they could potentially make. So
anyways, it'll get done. They'll figure it out for the end of the season. But going to another league, we're going to switch over to some basketball, NBA, and we want to discuss. We're about, let's say, probably fair to say, a quarter through the season. Let's say about
quarter through. Yeah,
a quarter through. What team do you think is the best team right now, the hottest team at the moment? Who are you most disappointed in? Gabe. And it can't be Gabe.
Listen, right now we're a little bit in a lull. Bam Adebayo's out with a broken hand. Jimmy Buckets was out for a little bit. I'm not gonna say the Heat. The
Robinson just
Heat
had the
are fine.
worst shooting night of his
Yeah,
career last night. I don't know if you saw that stat line.
I think he's
Mans
gonna
was
get
just
traded,
out
but let's
there
not talk about
running.
that.
Against
Let's
the
not talk
He's
Nuggets.
just
about
doing cardio out
that.
there.
But as far as teams overall, I think the East has gotten stronger. Overall, they've gotten better.
Do you think so?
The competition's better.
You
It's going to
I
be
think the
closer, man.
East.
The
you
East is going
honestly
to be
think
closer.
so?
I think the
East
East
is going
has
to be
gotten
closer,
better.
man.
I don't think it's as good as the West, but I think it got better. I think it definitely got better.
So if I had to pick a team, saying all of that, I'm not even going to pick a team in the East. I think the best team right now, the hottest team in the game, is the Golden State Warriors.
I was going to say, if
Somehow
you
they
say
figured out a way.
anything else, it's egregious. If you say anything else, like it has to be Golden State.
They somehow figured a way to play better defense. Fucking Steph Curry shooting the lights out. He's shooting at
I
some high clip. He's
disagree.
shooting like
I
I don't know.
disagree.
I'll say the hottest team right now in the game, Golden State Warriors. Although the East
Are
is
they
better,
number one?
I like to see
And
the
are they
East.
the best record right
No,
now?
no.
No,
Hottest team right now, and I'm gonna say it to ya, is the Phoenix Suns. 17-game win streak. Did not lose one game in November, and the other day they beat the Golden State Warriors, and I believe they play again tomorrow, Friday. So
They're
that's going to be a
they're
matchup
tied for the
right
best
there.
record between the Suns and the Warriors. Both 18-3.
Phoenix Suns just beat them in a head-to-head 17-game win streak going at it.
Geez, so they were 1-3 and dropped 17 in a row after that.
17
Shit.
in a row.
Shit.
Hottest team right now. But Golden State, they're up there, obviously. But I'm going off this decision on that matchup. That head-to-head matchup currently, Phoenix beat the Golden State Warriors. They both have the same record, so I'm going with them. And they play again tomorrow, I believe.
Well, I think too, deservingly so. Like if you look at it, like those teams, those two teams, they just know how to play together. They just do. Like it's just between good coaching and just chemistry. Like those guys, they just know how to play together. They're not like trying to be like the Lakers trying to buy championships. Like they work, they mesh, they feed off of each other.
Yeah.
They're just a really good organization, and really good organizations continuously win. I mean,
and it's
like the
obviously
Spurs
way
for
too
all
early.
throughout all those years, just like the Spurs. Like they're just, the chemistry was there. They just knew how to work together. They never made really huge signings. Like it was just, you had your core guys and you kept your core guys because they knew how to work together. And I mean, that's the
You're
one
talking
thing
about Golden State or Phoenix?
Golden State.
Yeah.
And then I think Phoenix could be that in the future. I mean, I'm saying Phoenix as a whole, they just know how they just mesh really well together. Those players just, they fit into that scheme really well. But Golden State, I'm talking about specifically, is because they just, what have they been together? Probably like 10 years now, almost, or 8
Pretty
years,
much.
8 years, somewhere around there. And then I think you can see the similarities between that team and like what we saw from like the Spurs from like the early 2000s to like the early 2010s, like that span of just like they just know how to work together. And I think as long as they're together and they're healthy, they'll continue to be really good and be one of the best teams in the league.
See, you made a few key points up until you said they didn't have to make any huge signings, right? Because we all know that Kevin Durant signing was one of the biggest. I get it. They drafted their top 3 players, right? Clay,
Okay,
Draymond,
but they also
Curry.
won
They
a
had that
championship
chemistry.
without KD, though.
Yes. Hold on. That's what I'm getting to the point. I'm 50-50 with you right now, right? Because it's kind of hard to tell. They were on the right track. They broke, the most wins record in the league without KD and all that. Perfect. Good. They signed KD. Who knows what would have happened if they didn't? That's all I'm saying. That makes a major difference. Now, my next point, real quick, with the Phoenix Suns. Who would have known they were running back? I know it's super early in the season, but like they're playing very, very well. Who knows? Maybe last year could have been not a fluke, right? Because Chris Paul did make the difference, but for him, another year older to go ahead and do it again and run that young team and keep them pushing. And right now, one of the best records in the NBA. That's amazing. And we all, well, I don't know about you guys, but others were laughing like, why would Chris Paul re-sign with that team? Yes, you made it to the finals, but that's not guaranteed to go back. But look what he's doing with this team. He built that confidence, and currently right now, I think they're on a mission with D-Book and everybody to go right back to the finals in that tough Western Conference. They're like, why didn't Chris Paul go ring chase and go with the Lakers or somebody? He's getting old, and now he signed the contract and he stood. It's crazy, right? But look how well they're playing with him. It's crazy.
because it fits. It just fits, and that's
Yeah.
the problem. I think people get so caught up in just trying to ring chase and just trying to play with people. But like, if it doesn't fit, it doesn't fit. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Things have to work out. Like, shit, who's to say the Nets will ever win? Because I mean, they might have a great
Facts.
team on paper, but like, we can arguably say
Facts.
they probably aren't have the best chemistry with each other. They're good players. I mean, the current, like I said, even currently look at the Lakers. Like, they're middle. What place are they at? They're sixth right now. They're 12-11, but everybody had them pegged to be like the number one team right now. And maybe things will change. Maybe they'll get it together, but we'll see. Yeah.
And you know what's scary? The Warriors are playing this good without Klay Thompson. He's gonna make his return.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's what's scary.
He's been gone for so long, bro. Guys.
Yeah, 2 major injuries, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Hopefully he comes back
who was
stronger.
your biggest disappointment, though?
You know what? The Lakers right now. Golly. I know,
Okay.
like, they're a middle-aged team of the league, right? The old heads, but, like, come on.
Middle-aged.
And it's not even about how they're playing. It's everything, man. It's tension within the players. They're fighting other players. Everything's going on but basketball right now, right? All this outside distractions, and I don't know what's going on. They're not meshing well. It's terrible, bro. They're 12 and lucky they're 12-11. They lost
The only reason why they're 12-11 is that they do have talent.
It's crazy. I mean, obviously we're all waiting for playoffs. Anything can happen in playoffs, but like, what seed are these guys gonna be in playoffs? They're gonna fight for the 7th and 8th seed when we're speculating them top 3.
I think they're going to be fighting. They're going to be in the 6 to 10 range or 7 to 10 range, trying to fight in to get in.
So far before All-Star break. So, what about yours, Gabe?
Gotta say 76ers, man. 76ers will be like top 3 in the league. They're dropping. Like I said, the East has gotten better, but that's the only, I guess, argument against it. Like, you could say the East got better. You know, Wizards.
They started strong.
Yeah.
Look, they don't have one of their best players on the team, so that's kind of, they didn't have anyone to replace Ben Simmons. So really, you just took a loss. So I don't.
Ben the Bum Simmons is the best player on their team.
I really don't find it surprising. It's like, what do you expect? If your second best player on the team's not playing, do you expect to go further than you did last year without having anyone replace that talent? Like, just
that guy is a fucking bum. He's a bum. The guy's. I can't stand hearing that motherfucker's name. He is such a bum. Like, he's like, why is he still considered a top talent in this league? Baffles me. I don't know.
I don't know what to tell you about that. Or what about yours, Julian?
I would have said, but they recently got on a streak. I was going to say the Milwaukee Bucks, but now they're on an 8-game win streak and really redeemed themselves, because for a moment
they did have a little bit of a slow start.
Yeah, they were struggling, but now they're on an 8-game win streak. They're killing it right now.
Yo, speaking of the Bucks, did you see that game last night? Or just highlights of it? Giannis with the game-winning layup with like
I saw that with like 4 seconds left.
LaMelo Ball hit the tie 3, and then Giannis with 5 seconds left hit the layup, gave him 2 seconds on the clock. That's your back-to-back MVP right there, bro.
Yeah.
Jojo, let me ask you something. What were Knicks fans saying after they won their first game?
This guy.
Hashtag bing bong.
Bing bong.
Come to the Knicks.
They're undefeated.
Come to the Knicks.
The originators from Coney Island, to give the man his credit.
But right now,
Coney Island term right there.
Everybody was talking shit.
That thing everywhere, bro.
I was hearing everywhere, this is the Knicks year. They're going to make it deep. They're going to be top ranked. Right now, they're ranked 10, 11, and 10 every year.
They're all right.
They say that every year, bro.
You know who's the football? The Knicks are the basketball equivalent of Cowboys fans. Knicks fans,
no, for sure.
Knicks fans are basically Cowboy fans. Every year,
and
they're going to make it to the fucking championship.
The problem with that analogy is Dallas Cowboys are actually pretty good, and so are the Knicks. So that's a problem with that analogy right there. Knicks aren't bad. They actually have a decent team. They got a decent team. Are they going to win the
championship? Are the Cowboys going to win it? Are the Knicks going to win it? Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
I don't believe in Julius Randle. I think
they believe in their heart that they're going to win. Both teams.
They have no other choice.
Both fan bases.
They have no other choice. After years of disappointment, you get a small spark. They're trying to turn it to a forest fire.
Julius Randle might be a little bit overrated. I'm leaning towards that way. I don't, believe him yet, but they got a
Everybody
little
in
decent little
big
team, man.
markets are
They got a decent
overrated.
little team. All
Everybody in big
right.
markets are overrated. Every big market,
Hashtag
a
big
lot
market.
of players are. But yeah,
Hashtag
but
mixtape.
but speaking of football, a little bit, we're going to switch over. A little bit of a surprise, I'll say, mid-season surprise. I did not expect to be saying this currently, but Gabe, since you are an AFC East fan, a diehard AFC East fan, do you believe that do you believe that the Patriots will surpass the Bills as the best team in the AFC? They're meeting up this week, head-to-head matchup. The winner will be in first place in the division. Are the
Wow.
Patriots at
Here's
that
the thing:
level?
if things continue like they have been for the past few weeks, I mean, the Bills all of a sudden I don't know if they're good anymore. Somehow, Bill Belichick is
You know
back.
why the Bills aren't good? Because they went through a fucking buzzsaw in Duval County. That's why. Josh Allen sacks Josh Allen. We didn't even get the chance to talk about that because we were all, but they went through a fucking buzzsaw and they haven't been the
Bro,
same.
I seen that everywhere. I seen that headline everywhere. Josh Allen sacks Josh Allen.
But I don't know. I don't expect. I don't know, man. I think the Patriots maybe they'll win the division.
Hey, they
But I
haven't
don't.
lost in
I'm a
November
believer in
either.
them.
They went undefeated in November. So that's another team right there on a win streak. They're just
Yeah,
going, man.
I don't believe in the Patriots. I mean, yeah, they're on a
I
little
could
streak
see
right
in his
now.
tone of voice, he's fighting it. He doesn't want to.
He
He's
doesn't want to
fighting
believe it. He's fighting it.
it. Bro, I'm
He's like
usually waiting for the
Gabe's like
answer.
not
He
another
doesn't
20
want.
years. Gabe's like not another 20 years.
I'm
He
not
doesn't want to believe
not
it.
gonna do
They
it.
found their future quarterback.
Yeah, they
No,
probably did.
I really think I can't say as of right now that they are, but I think the winner of this game is going to be a momentum mover because if the Patriots beat the Bills, I mean, the Bills have been on a downturn. Like I know we're just joking about them losing to the Jags, but really ever since they lost, they haven't been the same.
Bro, it's
They were hot,
disappointing. Everyone thought Josh Allen was going to be the MVP of this year, man.
and
Guys got a cannon. They have a great team. They have great receivers. They got great defense, and they're unpredictable right now.
well,
We don't know.
going into that Jacksonville game, they were the number one team on offense and the number one team on defense, which is just a
It's
deadly
insane.
recipe. But then you lose to the second worst team in the league, and then they just haven't been the same. But meanwhile, the Patriots, on the other hand, they've been on a hot streak. I think they finally kind of found a rhythm to make to put Mac Jones in a situation to succeed. Obviously, like they heavily rely on the run game, and obviously, when you have a good run game, it just sets your quarterback up to succeed. And then they do a really good job at Josh McDaniels of really scheming the receivers open. They don't have the best receivers on the team. They don't even have the best running backs, but they have an amazing scheme and amazing coaching. And all you need is a guy to just do the bare minimum. He's going to succeed. I mean, Mac Jones only throws 150 yards a game. He barely throws anything, but they know how to run the
Yeah.
ball and they know how to scheme guys open. And they have played good defense. You run the ball, play good defense, you're going to win football games. And it's kind of the problem in Buffalo. Buffalo can't run the ball. They're one of the worst running teams in the league. Their running backs are very like second tier, third tier running backs. They're not very good running backs. They don't have very many weapons outside of Stephon Diggs. I mean, you kind of have Cole Beasley, but he's just a number 2 receiver. And you're kind of relying a lot on Josh Allen to make kind of something out of nothing and run the ball quite often. So obviously their defense is a good. They have a really solid defense. I like their defense a lot, but I think this could be a bounce back game. This is going to be. I expect it to be a tight game. I don't see it being a blowout, but I can't say the Patriots have to beat the Bills to surpass them, and that's just how like for them to be the best team, they got to beat the best. And even though Bills have been on a downswing, they're eventually going to come back, and maybe this is the bounce back game, and this could be a big statement game. But when you got the greatest coach on your side, anything's possible.
Anything's
I'm gonna disagree
possible.
with you. I'm gonna disagree with you because they still have to play twice. Let's say the Bills win, they have the same record. If you look at on paper, essentially they're the same team, but as far as points allowed and points made. So if the Bills win, I'm thinking it's like still like 50-50, like, they might not. Um, so like to me, it's still I guess a struggle for number one. I'm still a believer in the Bills, even though they've been playing like trash. I think
They're a
they have more
streaky
offensive
team.
weapons. Yeah,
They're a streaky team. Bills are a very streaky
but
team. They get on a run, they're
yeah,
unstoppable.
but like I said, Patriots they play really good defense, so it'll be an interesting game. It's probably a game of the week. If I had some money, I would probably be betting on it, but I'm still chilling.
Gabe lost all his money. For the fans who don't know, Gabe's back in Florida. Florida just legalized sports betting. He got a little too excited and he started throwing money at the wall. And he
I
struggled.
mean, I was betting on everything. I was betting on hockey, on teams I've never seen or heard of. They're gonna push the over.
He
This guy's
said
gonna
13
score.
parlay, 10 parlay,
He's betting
parlay on everything.
He's betting on FCS college football colleges that he's never even heard of. Like
He said he's gonna bet on the first team to speak during the game.
Oh man,
coin flips. He's betting
So
on
many
coin
times.
flips.
never bet the over, guys. Don't bet the over.
But
on points.
Jojo, what do you think if the Patriots? Do you believe the Patriots can surpass the Bills?
I mean, at this point, I believe so. They're proving it, right? So I'm gonna go off of what I'm seeing, and it's crazy. Like I said, like they haven't lost in November, and look at their win margins against the teams they've played. They're putting up points as well. Like you said, he's not putting up that many yards, but they're winning by a good amount of points against the teams they're playing. They're not like going down to the wire every single game, and then they win in the last second. Nah, like they're just beating teams.
If you told me that like 5 weeks ago, I would have been like, I mean, the Patriots, they win games, but they don't put up points. But now they're starting to show that they can put up points, and the defense is scoring.
Points.
And here's the one thing I will say: if it starts going into a shootout, there's no way Mac Jones can keep up. I don't think the Patriots could keep up. What's going to be the success of the Patriots is if that defense can really hold down Buffalo. And at the moment, they look like they possibly can. But if Buffalo, like I said, Buffalo's a really streaky team. If Buffalo starts getting hot, I don't trust Mac Jones to go in a shootout with Josh Allen. I just don't like it. Not at this stage in his career.
Yeah.
But
okay, I could see that.
Yep. But now to the other coast. What was that?
No, I was going to ask about your Jags.
Oh. It's a whole other story, bro.
Yeah, that's too much to get into.
Oh, man. Urban's Chop House. Bro, God. But
is he going to Notre Dame, man? Is he going to Notre Dame?
He said he's not. I hope he does. He's a fucking idiot. But I hope he does.
Get rid of him.
He's live before.
I want his ass gone, dude. That guy's a fucking bum. All right. Going to the other coast. And so we're talking about the Patriots era kind of bouncing back after a down year and losing your star quarterback. But here's a team that's been hot for about 10 years. And it seems like there's a possibility that this might be the end of an era for the Seattle Seahawks. Gabe, do you think that it is the end of the era for Seattle and the 12th man? Do you think Russell Wilson will be gone? Do you think Pete Carroll's going to retire? Do you think this is the end?
Well, that's a lot of questions. So a lot of little questions. One question at a time. So, yeah, I think it's been over for Seattle for a minute, man. I think once they got traded, all those their safeties, their defense blew up, the Legion of Boom blew up. It kind of went downhill from there. You're kind of seeing like I don't know, they're holding on to strings with Russell Wilson. I don't think he's gonna.
Literally,
they're gonna probably.
That's
I don't know.
The term I would use.
Yeah, they're holding the strings with Russell Wilson.
Holding on the strings.
The guy has 4 fingers.
This guy, bro.
He's 4 fingers, bro.
Yeah, man. As far as Seahawks, I think they've been over for a minute. I think it's just surprising seeing now, like, oh damn, like they only really have, and it's kind of weird too because they have Metcalf and Lockett, and you think they should be more explosive and better. But that team, their running game is terrible. Their defense is terrible.
They're all lines.
I don't know. I think Russell Wilson's gone, man. They got to get something for him at the end of the contract. You got to start setting up for the future, and get something, make a change. As far as Pete Carroll, I know Pete Carroll is like one of the oldest coaches in the NFL. I still think he's all right. I think he's still, a head coach in the league. I guess it'll depend on like his personal life if he wants to continue. If he wants to sit around for a rebuild, I mean that'll be up to him.
He's an old man
but
for
yeah,
a
man,
rebuild.
and you're right. You probably want to get a new coach in there and get new talent, and you know what I mean.
I mean, hey,
Change it up.
Andy Reid. Andy Reid started with the rebuild, man, and look
I don't think
what
he
he
was as
did.
old as Pete Carroll is now. Pete Carroll's old, dude.
Yeah,
Pete Carroll's
he's
like
old as hell. He's really old.
he's like 72.
Shockingly.
You know what? Pete Carroll looks good for his age, though. He's
Yeah,
still
I didn't
active.
believe 72. I thought it was like low.
I don't know if he's
60s.
70. He's 70 something, and he like runs around that fucking field. He's like ready to go. Let me see. I'm actually curious now.
He's always ready. He's always ready to go. I did not believe he was 70 years old.
He's 70.
Yeah, man. Yo,
Yeah,
He's
man.
like you were saying with the Seahawks, bro, they lost that defense, man, and it's hard to keep up. Like Russell Wilson's always getting injured, always at the wrong time. They're hoping for a comeback mid-season. You're already falling behind. You were falling behind with him playing. It wasn't like you were undefeated. You know what I mean? So like, it's just too many ups and downs in the Seahawks last few years. Again, if you make playoffs, anything's possible. But you're constantly fighting for a playoff spot. You're never sitting comfortably these last couple years. It's always a struggle. Yes, you got lucky with some great receivers, but you can't always make magic happen on the offense if your defense ain't gonna hold down the game for you, right?
and you have no run game, and you only got two.
Throw it on the field every time, like.
And then Lockett's been kind of a little bit unproductive this year and been injured a lot. So all you really have is Metcalf, and then your quarterback, like you said, was gone, and it's there. It might be to the point where, they just need to blow it up. I mean, they just had a tough loss to Washington. I think that made them 3-8. And like, this is by far their worst season in the past 10 years. I think Russell's, after everything, I'm just going based off what we heard this past offseason. He seems like he just wants to be in a situation where he doesn't have to do everything. And he's a terrible O-line. Like you said, all they have going for them is Metcalf. I mean, can you really trust on Lockett? He's been great these past couple of years, but he's getting older. He's got nagging injuries. Can you really trust him? You have no run game. Your defense, like you said, is god-awful. The only guy you got on there is Bobby Wagner, and he's getting old too. So it gets to the point where it's like, I mean, and like we said, Pete Carroll's 70 years old. Do you want to go through another rebuild like that? And people can arguably say what really helped the Seahawks blow up so much in those the 2010, 2011, and all those years was the fact that he was a college coach coming from USC. He recruited a lot of these guys that he ended up eventually drafting. And I mean, that's what people were saying that maybe Urban Meyer can do in Jacksonville, but because we saw Pete Carroll do successfully. And now a lot of those guys that he recruited are gone. They're older. Like, can he do a fresh start in the NFL? We'll see. But the thing is, I just don't know if he wants to put in that effort to do it. And maybe he'll go down to college. Maybe he'll chill out in college. I mean, a lot of people were, before the USC job got taken, a lot of people were thinking that he would go down back to USC. I don't think he would, but I didn't think he was going to. But yeah, and I think Russell wants out. I think he really wants a better. Russell's not going to stick around for a rebuild. He's just, I don't see him doing that. So it's like you might as well get what you can from him. You're going to get a few first round picks from him, and just full rebuild. Because I think trying to piece together what you have is just that never works out. It never does. You always
talking
end up
about
failing.
sticking around. Wish I could stick around.
JoJo has to leave a little
for the
early.
Seattle job.
He's going for the Seattle job.
Yo, you catch me next to Pete Carroll in a few weeks. All right, it's time to take over his
Colors, you got the colors, bro.
Real fans podcast.
All right, he had to step up for a second, but yeah. So on that note, let's switch to another topic. We're going to talk about your Miami Dolphins, Gabe. Can Tua still be the quarterback? Let me rephrase this. Can Tua still be the quarterback that the Dolphins need? Is he still that guy? Dolphins are currently on a 4-game win streak.
Yes.
They've bounced back. They're now 5-7 after starting off 1-7.
Yeah.
I think their last loss was to the Jags, if I'm not wrong. And yeah, he's been playing really well. He's actually been playing really well. He has a nice little connection with Waddle. Those two have been working it really well. The defense is playing lights out. They've been playing amazing. The defense is playing like they did last year. They're exciting to watch. They're creative on defense, and the Dolphins are finally starting to find their groove, it seems like, and kind of picking up where they left off last year. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, Tua's coming off a great game. I think he threw over like 80%, which is only like three other quarterbacks. I think it was like Russell Wilson, Drew Brees, and I forget who else, something like that. Yeah, man. Look, it's gonna be what I said all along. You got to give this kid a chance to fucking play. There's still problems with the team overall, but you got to give this kid a full season. You know what I mean? He's playing well. I feel like I broke a record because he shows flashes. When he's throwing downfield past 20 yards, like that's what I want to see. I want to see him like live there. But he played well. Waddle, had a really good game. Went off, especially in the short on the short game. And last year the reason why the Dolphins had so much success was the defense. The defense was keeping a lot of games. It was keeping a lot of games close with a lot of turnovers and returns. Yeah, man. As far as Tua is concerned, it's going to be the thing I've been saying all along. Give this kid a chance. Give this kid an O-line. Let's see what he can actually do before we can assess, like, okay, he's not the future. He's not. He's been playing through injuries. He had surgery in his hand. He had to come in the game, and he successfully, won the game. Tua, I'm still a Tua believer. All right. We're not tanking for Tua. Now we're rooting for Tua. Okay, that's what we're doing. That's what we do over here as a Dolphin fan. Because I don't know what's the other option. Like, we can sit here and cry about, oh, we should have got Herbert. Oh, we should have got Herbert. Which, by the way, the Chargers
and the draft does not look good. The quarterback class coming out of the college does not look good at all.
So now, I don't know what the other option is besides getting another veteran, getting a Aaron Rodgers or getting a Russell Wilson or something.
Deshaun Watson.
I'm still a Tua believer. Hell no. I'm still a Tua believer. Tua is that dude. Let's give him, now this is his full season. Now he's seeing it. I still don't believe, but here's the thing. With the rest of the schedule going on with the Dolphins, I think they're still going to go 500. I don't know how it's going to work out as far as...
They had too slow of a start.
That wild card. Yeah,
their start was too slow. 1-7. That kills you. Like it's very hard to come back from that, even with a 17-game season.
I still think they're gonna, end the season at 500. And it's gonna be tough, especially like we talked about earlier.
Well, you can't do 500 anymore.
Fighting for number one. I know. I mean, you know what I'm talking about.
9-8 or 9-8 or 8-9.
Sure, whatever. They'll be mediocre, and then people will still have questions about Tua. But Tua's good, man. He's got the goods, dude.
I think he's playing really good. I give him credit, but I still don't. I do think he's the answer, at least for a long-term answer. But I think he will always be that guy where you need so much stuff around him. He's still I don't think he's a guy who can carry you, by himself. But he's one of those guys, like I always said, I could see him being like an Alex Smith type, where you need a team around him. You need the weapon. I still think they need another weapon over in Miami. And God damn, you need a fucking running back. You need a consistent guy at running back. Myles Gaskin pops off like 2 times in a season. And you need a consistent threat in the running game. And you need another wide receiver because Devontae Parker's his years have passed. He's not the same guy. Will Fuller's always fucking hurt. Dude's always hurt. So you need another guy inside of Waddle. Waddle's obviously a great start. To correct me if I'm wrong, but I think your offensive line has been playing kind of up and down throughout the year. Kind of
mostly down.
Mostly down. But then there's like moments where they do all right, right? Like they're holding it. So obviously you can improve on that, but the defense is just great. Like the way I love the way the Dolphins scheme their defense it's so creative and it's really fun to watch. But yeah, like you got to give Tua time. I think like trying to trade him for Deshaun Watson, I think is so stupid. I've said that from the beginning. I think it's stupid. I don't think they should do it. First off, you don't even know if this man's going to even be able to play, and to give away all that for a guy that you don't know if he's even going to be here is dumb. And Tua, like you said, Tua never really got a shot. I just don't see like crazy talent in him. I don't think he'll ever be as good as Herbert, but like you said, you got who you got. You got to work around it, tailor your offense to his strengths, and just do what you can. And it seems like they're finally kind of clicking. They're kind of finding something that works for him, and they're playing really well. They're playing well. I don't know what their schedule looks like for the rest of the season. Maybe you're right. Maybe they could go at just below 500 or just above 500, but they look really solid. They look like they're back to form, especially on the defensive side of the ball. They're actually kind of fun to watch, and they're not getting fucking smoked every play like they were for a second there.
Yeah, well, the rest of the season, just to bring it up, we got to play the Giants, play the Jets, Saints, and the Titans again. Then we played New England last game. We always play New England at the game.
Oh, yeah, it's actually really favorable. That's honestly really favorable. You could get above.
But that's what I said. They
right
can split. They can split. They can win 3 or 4 games out of that.
You can beat the Dolphins if they play like they played the past 4 weeks, and the defense continues to play up to par. You can beat the Giants. You can beat the Jets. That brings you at 500 at 7-7. And then what was after the Jets?
They play the Saints, Tennessee, and then New England.
Saints are such a wishy-washy team. You don't know what you're going to get with the Saints. And the Titans still don't have Derrick Henry. And the Titans got fucking demolished by who they just lose to really bad. The Patriots, yeah. But then they lose again? Oh, no. Yeah, I guess it was the Patriots. I thought they lost to a bad team. But either way, it's possible. Like you said, they could rattle off 3 wins in that span. And I don't know if I don't think that gets you to the wild card. I don't think 8 wins get you to the wild card. You need to at least get 10, I think, with how competitive the AFC is. AFC is. But yeah, man. Yeah. So we're going to switch it off. We're going a little bit to the younger guys. College football, the season is officially over. We are now going into the conference championships. And yeah, we're going to the top 4 right now that we have currently sitting at the playoff spots is number 1, Georgia, number 2, Michigan, number 3, Alabama, number 4, Cincinnati. Gabe, have you watched any college football? And who do you got really squeezing into the playoffs? I think personally, it's somewhere in the top 6. So 5 is Oklahoma State, number 6 is Notre Dame. I think once you go past that, you're going into that 2-loss column, and I don't see anybody with 2 losses getting in there. So this is going to be a really important week coming up because there's a lot of really tough conference championship games, and I'm really curious to see how they shake it up. But yeah, who do you got going into your 4?
I'm a college football expert because I've been betting on him for the last week since I came back to Florida. Thank you, Hard Rock. I think, listen, man, there's only 2 teams that people care about. Only 2 teams that I care about, at least. And the rest is just like for the birds. Obviously, you have Michigan, who are probably going to get in. And maybe there's a fighting spot for. I don't think Notre Dame should get in. I don't think Notre Dame.
I don't think if Cincinnati wins, Notre Dame shouldn't get in. No. I think that loss to Cincinnati against Notre Dame was huge for them. And if Cincinnati can, which they most likely will, if they win again, I don't see how you put Notre Dame ahead of them. Oklahoma State has a chance of jumping them. But yeah.
Yeah, so those are the teams. Probably Ohio State, probably Michigan, Alabama, and Georgia.
No,
honestly, I'm rooting for
Ohio State's out.
I'm sorry, not Ohio State. I'm sorry.
Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma's 5.
Yeah. Oklahoma State is what I meant to say. I think those are the teams that will probably get in for the top 4. But we'll see, man. You never know because especially like
you think they're going to kick Cincinnati out?
It's possible.
You think? I
It's
think it's
possible.
wrong, man. I feel like it's so wrong to do it. Like I
Well, here's the
get
thing,
it.
because the matchup of the week is Georgia at Alabama, and does Alabama get a chance to make it in if they lose this week?
That's the big question. That's the big question that I think a lot of people are thinking. I even consider it because it's like, do you, do you put Alabama in there with 2 losses, but then you don't put in either a Cincinnati or an Oklahoma State, with Cincinnati having no losses and Oklahoma State having 1 loss, especially Oklahoma State when they're a Power 5 team. So it's like, but then again, Alabama lost to the number 1 seed. Obviously, if Alabama beats Georgia, they would just flip flop. That's easy. They just flip flop. Georgia goes to 3. If Michigan beats, I think Michigan goes against Ohio, which that's going to be that's not going to be an easy game for Michigan. I was kind of surprised Ohio State lost to Michigan, but Iowa, they started off really strong in the season. Obviously, they only have 2 losses currently, but they started off really strong in the beginning of the season. So that's going to be a tough game for Michigan. But it's hard because what I wanted, there's nothing else I wanted more in this world than to Auburn to beat Alabama. I wanted Auburn to beat Alabama
Yeah,
so bad. There's nothing I wanted more than to see Alabama outside the playoff race. Because if they lost to Auburn, they were done. That was it.
yeah.
And
I think
but
that
then
would have
it's
been.
like, do you take that game into consideration that it went into triple overtime against a non-ranked
Yeah,
team with 5 losses? And it's
I think
like
the score was what? It was like 10-7, or it was a low scoring game going
we're down
into the
3.
third quarter.
Alabama going into the fourth, at the end of the fourth quarter, Alabama scores a touchdown with maybe under a minute left.
Yeah,
They held them off with
that
no
that was
touchdown.
that was an implosion by Auburn that game. Uh, but yeah, I think you do have to take in consideration. I mean, you can't, you really can't, because so here's the thing. There's the thing where it should be the right thing to do, and then there's also the thing where they're trying to make a product that people can watch and people tune in and people advertisers will pay money for it. So, um,
But do
yeah, I
people
think this
want to
is
see
gonna be.
Alabama outside of
I
Alabama
mean,
fans?
Alabama. I mean, they're pretty huge. Especially they've been so dominant the last 10 years. They've been relevant. So I mean, you gotta give them some kind of credit. I mean, I know there's not the same team for every year, but although they still do get the best recruits, they get the best players. They're whatever top rank and 5-star, 4-star players. Um, but yeah, this is gonna be tough, man, because they almost lost to Auburn, and they're about to play Georgia, who's really good. Now Georgia, I don't know if they can score a lot of points, uh, but they're really good. I have them as the best team this year, and I hope they win
I will say
this year.
this:
So
if Georgia smokes Alabama, they gotta go.
yeah,
If Georgia absolutely smokes them, if it's like a really close game, that's where it gets tough. And if Alabama loses a close game to Georgia, that's really tough. And it's like, fuck, do you want to put Alabama over, let's say, a 1-loss Notre Dame saying that they win and a 1-loss Oklahoma State saying that they win their game? That's, and those are Power 5 teams. Those are Power 5 teams, unless you knock out Cincinnati. But Cincinnati, I think, has earned the right to be with it. I mean, beating Notre Dame is like, if they didn't play with Notre Dame, then it's like, yeah, I can understand not putting him there. But man, the best thing that happened to Cincinnati is the fact that they got the schedule gods lined up for them and they go against
yeah,
Notre Dame. And as long as Notre Dame's going to have a very hard time hopping them,
yeah,
unless they get pushed up. With Alabama was to lose badly and they get pushed up. But then Oklahoma, it's going to be, man, Notre Dame has to hope for a lot of things to happen. Notre Dame's got, I think, got to hope for Cincinnati. Notre Dame's got to hope for everybody to lose except Georgia, pretty
yeah.
much. Because Notre Dame, I don't know who they're going against in their ACC championship. Let me see real quick. Notre Dame will go against.
Looking at their schedule, let me see.
Why is it not showing it?
I mean, either way, it's going to be tough for them. They got the longest road to hoe. Once you beat a team, it's got to count for something. You just can't have teams beating people and they be like, oh no, forget that. I mean, you can't have that. Which is why I say you have to consider the Auburn, Alabama game. That has to be taken into consideration. That the under on that game was like 27 points or something at the first half, like because they weren't scoring. And it went over to like whatever 45, 41, 42, something.
Oh wait, does Notre Dame not have another game? I guess Notre Dame doesn't have they don't have a conference championship game.
Well, aren't they independent?
They're I thought they were ACC. Am I crazy? Am I like drawing an absolute blank?
I see Alabama. Why does it say Alabama? Oh no, that's Georgia. I had that wrong.
Regardless of the fact, you gotta there's a lot of things to like take in consideration because Oklahoma State's facing a number 9 Baylor. So Oklahoma State's facing a top 10 team. And it's really hard. And that's why they should expand the playoffs. Like, this is the exact reason why they should expand playoffs, because it's so hard to think who should go in there. Because Oklahoma State beats Baylor, which is a number 9 team. Cincinnati, they just beat they beat Houston, who's ranked 21, and Houston's 11-1. So that kind of helps their argument, because they're going their conference games against the ranked team, even though it's Houston. But then Michigan's going against Iowa. It's going to be really interesting to see how they shake things up. Because
so let me ask you this question. Let's say this Alabama Georgia game. Let's say Alabama beats Georgia, and then they go to the championship, and then Georgia beats Alabama. I mean, who's the real champion?
What do you mean? Like if Georgia beats Alabama in the SEC championship game,
they get boosted into the Final Four. I'm sure Georgia still stay up there. Do you think Georgia gets knocked out of the Final Four if
they flip flop? They flip flop.
Okay, and then let's say they meet again in the final.
Georgia's locked into the playoffs. If they lose, I mean, you're losing to your ranked number 1 team and you lose to a ranked number 3. Like you're locked in. Like you just flip flop.
But let's say they meet again for the final game. Who's the true champion? If they split, let's say they meet twice and they split, who's the real champion?
Well, the person who ever won. I mean, it's a championship game. Someone with all the marbles. I mean, it's just what it is. Well, I'm saying, and the reason why, obviously, I think this game's favored by Georgia. One, because Georgia, I think, is just the better team. But also, you're playing in Atlanta, bro. Like, it's going to be Athens, Georgia's like maybe like an hour away from Atlanta. Like, that's like going to be a big time home field advantage. Don't get me wrong, Tuscaloosa ain't that far either. But that's going to be a big time Georgia fan base right there. And that's going to be like a home game for them with like 70, 80,000 people in there. And that's going to play a factor. That's going to be a really big factor. I got Georgia winning it. But the big question is just like, I think what's really going to determine if Alabama sticks around is how close that game is. Because I think they're going to look past that whole Auburn game. But then if they lose bad and they barely squeak out one, you got to really consider Oklahoma State at that point, because Oklahoma State's being a ranked 9 and they're ranked 5 and they have 1 loss. Like that. Like,
I agree with you.
You got to look at that. But we'll see how things shake up.
Alabama got to keep it close to be considered. They got to keep it close. And they weren't scoring. Their quarterback, they were not scoring that game except until it got to the end.
And even if it's close, it's still hard to make an argument for them. Even if it is close, it's hard to make an argument for them. But it's a lot of great games. Like I said, Cincinnati, got Michigan, Iowa, which let's not be totally surprised if Iowa wins that game. That might be the best thing that happens to Oklahoma. If you're an Oklahoma State fan, the one thing you're hoping for is Alabama gets blown out and Michigan loses. That's what you're hoping for, because that's the only way you're probably getting in there is one of those teams lose considerably. But we can talk about this all day. Honestly, I love talking about like late college football things and like all the different scenarios. I think it's like I find it really interesting because, like, well, if this happens, then that happens. But if they win this, and then this, I always find it really cool. But that's why I think they should expand it. It makes it a little bit easier, even at like 12. Like that'd be awesome to see. Like these rank 15, 16s trying to squeeze in there. But anyway, that's well, we're gonna switch back to football, but just football. We're gonna give our picks of the week. Gabe, any idea? We haven't done it in a few weeks, but I wasn't sure if you had happened to know what our records was the last time we made picks.
Last time we made picks, let me see. Julian, you're up 2 on me. 27 to my 25.
So 27 to
Our picks are
25. And you know what the record was that week for us? Like, I think I went pretty even. I don't remember what week it was, a few weeks ago, but I think I went pretty even from what I remember.
I gotta count it over again. To see it. But yeah, we're pretty right there, man. I mean, you're doing better than me recently. So. And
Yeah,
based
recently
on this past weekend, you'll probably do better than me again this week.
Let's just say that this NFL season has been the most crazy fucking. You can't predict anything that's going on. Like, this season's so wide open. I don't know who the fuck's a favorite anymore. Like, one moment you think something's going to happen, the next it doesn't. But yeah, let's get into this right here. So we got Thursday night football tonight. We got the Dallas Cowboys taking on the New Orleans Saints at the Superdome. Cowboys -6.5. Gabe, who you taking? The line's pretty even on this.
I'm taking Dallas 6.5. They'll win. Dallas is really good. And no, I don't know what their problem is, but I'm taking Dallas.
Give me Dallas too. New Orleans is such a shaky team. Even though they're out, like, yeah, give me Dallas. I'll take Dallas. I think they can put up the points. Next game, we got Minnesota at Detroit Lions. Minnesota is -7 at Detroit.
Oh, that's easy, Minnesota. Easy.
The line is leading towards Detroit. Detroit's -105.
That's because
Minnesota's
they want you to put money on the stinky Lions.
Here's my thing. Minnesota
You think
always finds a way to keep games close. They never blow out people when they should. That's my only concern with Minnesota. Think about all their games. All their games are so close. They win it, but give me Detroit. I think they find a way to get within 7. I think they get.
You got them winning, or you got them covering?
I got them covering.
You got them to win.
I got them to cover. I don't got them to win. Hell no, I don't got them to win. I just don't think Minnesota's going to cover that 7.5 spread. I don't have them doing that. Minnesota just finds a way to keep games close for whatever reason, whether they should or shouldn't. All right, next game we got Arizona at the Chicago Bears. Line is leaning towards Chicago Bears. It is +7.5 with the odds for that spread for Chicago -106 to Arizona's 114. So the line is leaning towards Chicago.
For sure.
Give me Arizona. Chicago just cannot put up points. They just can't. And you know who can? Kyler Murray and them boys. So like oh shit, wait, is Kyler Murray playing? He's playing, right?
I think so. I think he's back.
Oh shit. I think he's playing. Yeah, so yeah, give me Arizona -7.5. Regardless of the fact they got too many weapons, they can make it work. The Chicago just can't score to save their life.
I'll take Arizona as well.
Next game, we got Tampa Bay Buccaneers at Atlanta Falcons. Tampa is -11. The odds are even at 110. Give me Atlanta with the +11. Atlanta kind of had a bounce back game against the Jags. They're at home. I think they can get it within 11. Got Cordell Patterson back. He's healthy.
Not agree with you. I'm going to take
Tampa. Tampa scares me with big spreads. I don't necessarily trust Tampa with big spreads. All right, now next game, we got Indianapolis Colts at the Houston Texans at -10. This one's a tricky one for me because I think Houston can keep it close. You are at home, but do I think they can get within 10? Do I think my big question is My big question is, can Indianapolis keep a wide enough gap between them? Carson Wentz scares me, dude. Carson Wentz scares the shit out of me. I'm going to take Houston plus 10. I'll take Houston plus 10.
Plus 10.
It's a lot for Indianapolis. That's the scare. It's a lot for Indy.
Yeah.
That's what scares me a lot.
They got to win by 13 or 14 points. Does Indy do that to Houston? You know what? I'm going to go with Indy. I think they can get 13 points.
Okay, Indy. We got Philly at the New York Jets. Philly is -7 with the odds leaning that way at -106 compared to New York Jets is -114. Give me Philly. Philly might be a playoff team. They've honestly surprised me. They are playing a lot better than I ever anticipated them coming into the season. I thought they were going to be not very good, and they turned out to be a very competitive team, and they could squeeze into the playoffs. They keep it up, so they should handle the Jets. Yeah.
So, I don't know. That's a tough point right there. -7. I mean, you can give me a half a point. Give me 6.5.
Yeah, -7 sucks. If it was 6.5, I'll definitely hammer that. 100%.
I mean, that means I got to win by like 9 or 10 points. You know what? It's the Jets. I'll give me Philly.
I think it's gonna move.
Philly.
I think it might move to 7.5. That's just my guess. We'll see when it gets closer. This one's another really good game. So this is the battle of the NFL 2020 rookie class. Justin Herbert versus Joe Burrow at Cincinnati. Cincinnati is the favorite at -3, with the line leaning towards the Chargers at +105. I mean, at -105 for the odds. Man, this is a really good game. This is going to be a very close game. I predict this is going to be a very close, high-scoring game. But you know what? Give me the Chargers +3 and the money line with that +134. I think the Chargers. I think the Chargers win this game. The Chargers are a good team.
Wow,
I trust the Chargers defense more. I love the Chargers line with Joey Bosa, and the rest of those guys. I do not trust Cincinnati's offensive line. But both teams have really good weapons within the running game and the receivers. It's going to be a high scoring game. I think for sure the Chargers with the +3, and I like the odds with the money line, so I'll take that. And I don't think Cincinnati's the craziest place to play at.
It isn't, but you got to think they're going, across the continent on the road, and Cincinnati, Cincinnati's pretty good. I'm gonna go Cincinnati at home, man. Give me the home favorites.
You got them winning it too. Yeah, you got -3 Cincinnati.
Yeah, got them winning.
The -3 sucks. The -3 kind of is annoying. It's -3 sucks if you're trying to cover. All right, next game. We got New York Giants at your Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins are -4.5 with the line leading that way with -105 as the odds. Which New York's odds are -115. Give me the Dolphins at home. I think they can win by at least 5.
I was going to say, I was going to take the Dolphins as well. It's Art Basel. These New York people, they're going to come down here. They're going to have a hell of a weekend.
Oh, shit. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of New York fans, I think. That might be a pretty blue stadium.
I sense the Art Basel flu in the New York locker room. Give me the Dolphins.
Yeah, that stadium might be a lot. There might be a lot of blue in that stadium. All right, next game. We got Washington football team at the Las Vegas Raiders. Washington football team is +2.5. Raiders are -2.5. The line slightly leaning towards the Raiders at -108 versus Washington football team -112. So this is actually a pretty tough game. The Raiders have seemed to be on a downswing since all the shit that's been going on in that organization. They were looking so hot to start the season, and now everything that's been going on, they've kind of took a downturn since then. Meanwhile, on the other side of the field, you have Washington football team with Heineke with a 3-game win streak right now. Washington seems to have a little bit of resurgence, especially after having a really good game against Seattle. But this is going to be a close one. Man, if this was at Washington, I would definitely give the odds to Washington, the nod to Washington. But this is another game where, you know what? I like Washington's defense. Give me Washington plus 2.5, and I got them winning the game with the money line plus 114.
I seem to like favorites. I'm gonna go with the home team. I'll stick with the Raiders.
I'm picking a lot of dogs.
The Raiders. I know.
But here's the thing, though. Every fucking game, every week, there's all kinds of crazy upsets that we don't expect. So this year's been a very hard betting year. All right. We got the Baltimore Ravens at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Baltimore is minus 4.5 at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh plus 4.5, with the line leaning towards Pittsburgh at plus 4.5. Oh man. Give me Pittsburgh plus 4.5. I don't think they win this game, but I think they keep it close. Baltimore, I don't think is as good as they seem. Baltimore's been struggling, man. They're winning games, but they're struggling. They're not looking like a very dominant team, and I think they keep it close.
Lamar Jackson. Was there any news about Lamar Jackson this week? That's really going to influence. You know what? I'm going to stick with you. I'm going to go home. I'm going to go with the home team. They're probably going to lose the game, but they won't cover. Baltimore won't cover.
Yep. I think the games are just too close. All right, here's a tough one right here. We got Jacksonville Jaguars at Los Angeles Rams. The Rams are minus 13, Jaguars plus 13. The odds are even with that spread at minus 110. It's a 50-50 rule.
Is this even life? Yeah, give me the Rams. 14 points. They can do it. They got the offense for it.
Do they though? Rams have been they've been struggling, man. They've been struggling. They've lost, I believe, they've lost a couple in a row by now. This is going to be a tough game for the Jags, obviously. And the Rams are coming in here because what's scary, what I think what makes this tough for me is that the Rams are on a downswing. And they're looking at this game as like, we're getting fucking right. We're not gonna lose this game. Like, if the Rams are winning, if the Rams are winning, this would be like a trap game, and I'd be like, I don't know, you gotta be careful. Look at the Bills, but
traveling west again. What did I tell you about traveling across the continent?
And the Jaguars historically have a hard time playing out west. Give me the Rams minus 13. The Jags, you know what the problem is? The only reason why I'm saying that, the Jags can't fucking score. They just can't fucking score. They're one of the worst offenses in the league. They've scored 2 touchdowns in 2 games. They can't. The offense is terrible.
It hurts your heart, man. I know.
It's even though. All right, next game we got San Francisco at Seattle. Oh man, I would hammer the shit out of this game. Give me San Francisco minus 3.5. The line is leaning that way at minus 105. Seattle Seahawks plus 3.5 with the odds for them minus 115. They have this game a lot closer than I thought they would, but I'm absolutely hammering the 49ers this game. The 49ers should handle the Seahawks no problem. I don't care the 12th man or whoever the fuck.
I'll do 49ers as well.
That's my fucking bet of the week. Next game.
Like value.
Yeah, like value. Like that's my pick of the week. I should say that. That's my pick of the week. All right, next game. Denver Broncos at Kansas City Chiefs. Denver is plus 9.5 at Kansas City, who's minus 9.5. The odds are dead even at minus 110. Whew. All right, man. So this is an interesting one. I honestly feel like number one rule, never bet on Kansas City on large spreads. Never. So I'm not going to. Give me the Denver Broncos at minus 9.5. Also, I believe Denver has a pretty solid defense and they can hold their own. And I think they get within 10. I don't care if you're at Kansas City.
Same logic. Kansas City doesn't cover.
They never do. Monday Night Football. Dun, 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 dun. And we got the New England Patriots at the Buffalo Bills, is what we discussed earlier. This is one of the biggest games of the week. They have, this is at Buffalo. So I think this is what's giving the edge to Buffalo. But Buffalo is minus 2.5. New England is plus 2.5. The line leaning towards New England at minus 104. Gimme Buffalo. Minus 2.5.
Wow. You know what? New England's on a hot streak, man. Give me Mac Jones. Give me that mac and cheese.
Wow.
Is anybody calling him mac and cheese?
I don't know. But I think with the way Buffalo is playing, I think they're going to have a bounce back game. You're at home. I guarantee you that's going to be a snowy ass game. That's going to be a cold ass, snowy ass game. I think Buffalo's going to bounce back, man. I think they're going to flex their muscles. I really do. But yeah, so you got New England plus 2.5.
I got New England. Give me
all right,
and
that's our picks of the week. Gabe, hit him with the outro.
You already know. We appreciate y'all checking us out. You know, every week we see the improvement. We see you guys checking them back in. So we're just trying to be consistent. We'll be here again next week talking more sports. Find us on all the things. Real Fans Podcast, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. We appreciate y'all checking us out. Peace.
Twitter. And yeah, peace out, guys.